ongoing humanitarian impact in Gaza. Well, joining me now is Ahmad Bastan, the Director of Communications of the Penny Appeal. Very good morning to you. Thanks so much for talking to us this morning. The UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres made an impassioned speech at the UN yesterday, laying out his case for a ceasefire. And he said the people in Gaza were desperate, starving and staring into the abyss. And he also said that civil order was breaking down. Is that a description that you recognise?
A very good morning, Anna. I most certainly do, and we welcome the fact that the UN Secretary-General took the unprecedented step of invoking Article 99, drawing the attention of the international community to an issue that does risk going really out of control, both on a humanitarian level and in other respects. We are deeply disappointed as a humanitarian community after the result of the United Nations Security Council motion yesterday, and extremely worried, not only for the hundreds of thousands of families that have been impacted by this humanitarian calamity, but specifically, Anna, the huge impact this is having on the most vulnerable on both sides of the border, women and children who are suffering hugely right now, not just in the present moment, but also for many years to come, sadly.
Israel, meanwhile, rejected Antonio Guterres' description. They say that calling for a ceasefire plays into Hamas's hands by trying to stop the fighting before they've had a chance to neutralise them, to stop their ability to continue more and more attacks like October the 7th.
We as humanitarians condemn all forms of violence. We condemn in the strongest terms all loss of life on both sides of the border. And as humanitarians, we've been extremely clear, not only ourselves at Penny Appeal, the United Nations, Oxfam, among others, in stating that all hostages should be immediately released. The relentless bombardment of the Gaza Strip must stop immediately. And I think the key aspect and the key word in the motion yesterday was humanitarian, an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. It's been incredibly difficult, Anna, for organizations like ourselves to deliver aid in Gaza. It's literally drips of aid for a population that require truckloads, even more than before this crisis started. We've got a situation right now in Gaza where people are having to pay £107 to get a bag of flour. Now, if you or I were in that situation, we wouldn't be able to survive, because if the bombardment doesn't take your life, the starvation most certainly will. And it cannot continue. We're 64 days now into this conflict, and the people of Gaza are unable to bear it anymore.
And Israel talks about inviting aid agencies to set up safe zones so that people fleeing the hotspots of conflict have somewhere to go. But they say that a lot of aid agencies are reluctant because they're worried that they'll be seen to be collaborating in some way with Israel's offensive. So how effective are safe zones at the moment in Gaza?
I think as the US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, said the other day, unfortunately, we're seeing that the comments are one thing, but the reality on the ground is another. We know that people were told to flee to Khan Yunis, to the south of Gaza, and even that now has become a combat zone. We are seeing that even this week, people were asked to flee to an area that itself is landlocked and probably smaller than Heathrow Airport. For 1.8 million people to reside in that area is just impossible. And unfortunately, there is no safe place in Gaza. If you speak to anyone on the ground right now in Gaza, there is no safe zone, whether it's hospitals, universities, United Nations buildings. Nothing is safe in Gaza. And I'm not stretching the truth to say that humanitarians on the ground are literally putting their lives on the line to try and save the lives of others. And it isn't a situation that any humanitarian, any aid worker, any individual should have to find themselves in.
OK, well, Ahmad Bastan, Director of Communications at the Penny Appeal, we really appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much for talking to us.
Thank you so much, Anna.